If you're an NFL fan, I am sure by now you have heard of the improbable comeback made by Baker Mayfield for the Los Angeles Rams. Baker Mayfield, who was signed by the Rams just 2 days ago, as of my recording, made an improbable comeback against the Las Vegas Raiders, who were actually fighting for their playoff hopes. With less than 4 minutes to go, the Rams were down by multiple scores, and including a 98-yard game-winning drive, were able to secure a win. How did we get here with Baker Mayfield? Just a few years ago, he was on the Cleveland Browns. Now he's on his third team, making an improbable comeback. So I thought I'd give Baker Mayfield a quick retrospective just to how exactly we got here. Look, I know Baker Mayfield wasn't necessarily on the list on my community tab, but I feel like I could not ignore what is going on in LA. There's a QB controversy brewing, and it's a pretty good redemption should this keep going. So sit back, relax as we talk about the retrospect of how Baker Mayfield got to where he is now. Baker Mayfield was the Heisman Trophy winner of 2017, leading Oklahoma to a great college championship win, groin grabs and all. His talent and his moxie led him to becoming the #1 overall pick for the Browns in 2018. Keep in mind, this is the same Browns who were 0-16 the year prior. So I just want you guys to remember that. I want you to remember who the Browns were before Baker Mayfield. In 2018, with Tyrod Taylor going down in week 3, Baker Mayfield was handed the starting position and he never looked back. In his rookie season, he showed tremendous promise. Baker broke the rookie touchdown record held by Peyton Manning with 27 touchdowns. His peers voted him the 50th best player in the NFL in the NFL Top 100 series. Things were not always so peachy. In his sophomore year, week 1 really set the tone. Against the Titans, the Browns lose 43-13. Baker himself throwing 3 interceptions, including a terrible pick 6. His final stats did include, well, first of all, he played in all 16 games. That's something that hadn't been done since 1999, so a little bit of positive in his sophomore season. He had a 22-21 TD interception ratio, not great. The Browns finished 6-10, and in many people's eyes, this was the first strike for Baker Mayfield. After a strong rookie year, you push for your quarterback's coach turned offensive coordinator, Freddie Kitchens, to lead you guys in the coming year, only for you guys to finish 6-10. And in the media, it was made that it was Baker Mayfield's idea to make Kitchens the head coach, so it wasn't a great look for Baker. Out goes Freddie Kitchens, in comes Kevin Stefanski. And with Stefanski and Baker guiding the Browns, they were led to a playoff berth for the first time in 20 years. Not only that, they go on to beat the Steelers in the wild card round, their first victory in the playoffs since 1994. The Browns do lose a close one in the divisional round against Kansas City in a close 22-17 heartbreak. But the sky was the limit for next year. You had the coach that you need, so things were looking peachy. But then we get to his 4th year, and Baker went back to his sophomore campaign. You could rule that injuries played a big factor in it. With Baker struggling again, the Browns' record suffers as a result. It turns out that in week 2 against the Texans, he had partially torn the labrum in his shoulder. And possibly due to not wanting to ruin his chance at a big contract, because at this point, remember, he is in his 4th year going on his 5th, so he's looking for that big time deal. You have reason to believe that Baker didn't want to be out of the game, 1, because of the contract, and 2, because he loves the game. And Baker does seem like a player's kind of player, if that makes any sense. Injuries and struggling games continue to pile up, and Baker Mayfield is ultimately sidelined and has surgery on his torn labrum, ending his season at week 17. And then the offseason happens, y'all. This is the offseason where disgraced quarterback Deshaun Watson is seeking out of Houston. The Browns go all in to acquire Deshaun Watson. But even before they acquired him, because it had been made public that the Browns were interested, Baker Mayfield had requested a trade. This is where opinions kind of differ on how Baker should have handled it. Some people say he should have just kept his mouth shut and realized that he is still going to be the main guy going forward because Watson was probably not going to play week 1. And, you know, hindsight, he didn't play until week 11. So it could have been a chance for Baker to showcase what he can do to another team. But there is a lot of pride being the #1 overall pick. And if you guys know who Baker Mayfield, the person, is, not just the player, you know that he's just not going to sit idly by and be the second option. Baker does get his wish, and he is traded to the dumpster fire of an organization that is the Carolina Panthers, who are in their own rebuild. By the preseason of the 2022 year, Baker Mayfield had won the starting job over PJ Walker and Sam Darnold. But in a game against the San Francisco 49ers, Baker Mayfield was sidelined with an injury injury. Because of the injury and the fact that they went 1-4, and the fact that his backup PJ Walker did well, when he did inevitably return, PJ Walker was named the starter as Baker was the backup. Baker did get one final shot against old nemesis Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. Unfortunately for Baker and the Panthers, they could only muster 3 points in a 13-3 loss. And with that, Baker's time as a starter, in a Panthers uniform at the very least, was over. Once Baker knew he was no longer the starter again, ultimately he could not just stay quiet and did request his release from the Panthers. Not too long after that though, the Rams did claim him off of waivers, and in just 48 hours had a great game. Completing 22 of his 35 attempts, Baker Mayfield had 230 yards and a touchdown to show, but that does not tell you the whole story, because as we all know, he also led an improbable comeback win. The fourth quarter was something special, something that you might actually expect from a #1 overall pick. The Rams score to bring it back to one score, only being down now 16-10. And then after a great stop by the Rams defense, the improbable did happen. With 98 yards to go, Baker Mayfield and the Rams need to do something special. Back-to-back great down the field passes help push the Rams into position and ultimately get the job done and score on the game-winning drive. And any chances of the Raiders making the playoffs has now been squandered. So that's the story that we know, but I do want to point out a few things. One, if you didn't watch the game, the Raiders had a couple of costly penalties in that drive. So that definitely helped the Rams, but that's not to take away what Baker Mayfield and the Rams were able to do. Remember, this is a guy who just got onto the team all but 48 hours ago. So he has to learn a brand new playbook, even if it's a little limited. That's incredibly difficult to do. So kudos to Sean McVay and Baker for getting ready and getting organized to the point where he could play. You also got to remember, they don't have a really great running game, and Cooper Kupp and Allen Robinson, their top two wideouts, have been gone for the year. So when you consider everything, it makes it that much more impressive. And a lot of people are rooting for Baker Mayfield because, like me, and this is coming from a Bengals fan, I do think that he got screwed over by the Browns. Look how they look without Baker Mayfield. Their $230 million quarterback looks rusty as hell. And I don't know if a lot of people brought this up before. There was a narrative that Baker Mayfield was selfishly playing through injury, where if it was anyone else, it would be twisted.
Oh my God, look how much he's playing through injury. What a guy. Well, that's a teammate that you'd want to play with.
You guys get what I'm saying? The media can be very, very dangerous in that regard. So with that being said, it does now bring the question of a QB controversy. As you guys know or may not know, Matthew Stafford is dealing with a very serious injury, one to his spine. Now, there are rumors suggesting that Matthew Stafford is considering, it's not confirmed, but there is rumors going on that Matthew Stafford could be considering retirement, as when you hear spinal injury, that is never a good sign. And when you think about it, Matthew Stafford is getting up there in age and he already won a Super Bowl. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. My personal opinion is that Baker Mayfield will stay with the Rams for the foreseeable future. I just wanted to share how we got here with Baker Mayfield, what led to this improbable comeback. So with that, thank you guys for watching. If this is your first time on the channel, feel free to drop a like, comment, subscribe, turn those notifications on. We try to put a what happened to or a retrospect kind of video once every 2 weeks, although this one specifically, it is week to week because I do want to just talk about current topics. Let me know in the comments who we should work on next. And as of me recording this, I am not sure yet who is going to be my next What Happened To video, but I did leave a poll and I'll put it right up here. Let me know in the comments if I missed something. And until next time, y'all, shaboy!